Destiny Gundam. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from gundam.tk and YouTube, and today I'm looking at one of the more interesting and controversial mobile suits. It's the Master Grade Destiny Gundam, and in this case we have the Extreme Blast mode. Both the regular kit and the Extreme Blast mode went on sale in October of 2007, and the regular one sells for 5,000, while this one is 7,000 yen. You may be asking, why is this controversial? And it's because in Gundam it's usually pretty straightforward who the protagonist and who the lead Gundams are. Going back to Zeta, where you had Camille in the Mark II, followed up by the Zeta, the title Gundam. Well, in this case you had Kira very successfully leading off in Seed, in the Strike, and then the Freedom Gundam. Then they went in a new direction with Shin piloting the Force Impulse, or the Sword Impulse in the first episode, and clearly he was the protagonist for the first half of the series. And by the time they got around to introducing the title Gundam, yes, the Destiny Gundam a la Zeta, all of a sudden Kira came in the Strike Freedom and took a lot of the spotlight away. Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I think if you see the last few episodes, you may have a pretty clear idea as to who the hero and villain is of the piece. But nonetheless, today we're not fighting about the lead status or not, we're just focusing on how awesome or not this mobile suit and model is. At the time, and even now, you have the choice of buying the Extreme Blast mode, which is a special version, and that sort of goes back to Strike Freedom, which you'll notice came out first in December of 2006. And they sold a regular version of that, just a regular Master Grade, again for 5,000, but they also sold the full burst mode, again for 7,000 yen. Now obviously that went well for Banda, and they had the idea that if we just add in a few extras and some shiny parts, people are going to be spending the extra money. But I'd say right off the hop that the Destiny Gundams, its special version, has a lot more upside, seemingly, than the Strike Freedom. You may have been impressed with the cover art, but once you actually get a look at the model, you may see why you'd want to go for the extra version up. Starting with the big appeal for me is just the Wings of Light, which have been done in Gundam before, but this is new for their being in 1/100th Master Grade form, which is a pretty big kit to begin with. You're talking about 18-19 centimeters with a huge wingspan, so that's obviously going to be something that looks impressive if it works out. You're also going to see effect parts there. If you played the game Gundam vs. Gundam, you'll probably be familiar with this melee weapon, the Palma Fiokina, and I don't know how my pronunciation is for that, but anyway, basically grab them by the head and then blast them. And that's effect parts that are going to shoot out there, and you're also going to get a different things. You're going to get the ability to extend the beam boomerangs away from the hand, so he's throwing them, and then you're going to notice that they actually have a beam blade that sticks out, so right away, outside of weight issues, that looks impressive. And they're going to give you 4 different attachments here, so you can have 2 short and 2 long to have those, even if he's holding them in the hand pre-throw. And you'll notice that you're also going to get 2 crossing parts there, so if you want to have him throwing the boomerangs, already this has a lot more playability than pretty much any Gundam I can think of. If the wings, beams, and throwing parts aren't enough to impress you, what about chrome coating parts? And this goes back to the Strike Freedom, where it came with some puke gold, as I like to call it, and some nice shiny gold. Not quite enough, as you'll see in my review of that. But the Destiny follows along with a similar lines, where you're going to have a mostly silver inner frame, but you're actually going to get really shiny silver parts for some of the very obvious parts like the manipulators, most of the elbows, and a few other things. And in case that's not enough, you're going to be getting a large figure of Shin and Kira, so you can have them fight it out. You're also going to get small versions of them. You're also going to get extra pilots here, so you can have them actually sitting in the cockpit, which is pretty normal, and an extra set of stickers, including things like the Faith Seal. Playing as or against the Destiny Gundam, you've got to be aware of just how many weapons it has, which sort of makes sense when you think of it as the continuation of the tradition of the Strike Gundam, where they've pretty much got all 3 strike packs slapped onto his back. So you're going to have some parts there, and it's going to have a few things that this would be more focused on for the regular version, but you're able to bring the backpack, or you're able to bend the back and lock it into place by opening up that panel there, and it's going to have a slide switch inside the hips, which should open them up for poses, but I wonder if that's going to prove to be problematic. But it's the main weapons, as mentioned, that are going to really sell this thing. You've got the high energy long beam cannon, which is just a beast, and you're also going to have the erudite sword, and that's just a massive sword, very similar to what Impulse used against the ships. And you're going to have a very good knee mechanism, which is very impressive, very similar to the Strike Freedom. You're also going to have a gradation print here on the beam shield, which you can pop on over the regular shield. And the wings are going to open up and actually have a slide mechanism, which is going to bring up these 3 parts outside of the main wings. Forget about the online battles, I wish we had seen more of these two suits going at it, Destiny and Strike Freedom, so why not play it out on your shelf? Here it shows just a scene from the clip, and why not recreate that with the two master grades of these two massive beasts, both of which are going to come with display stands in the shape of their wings, which really help them get up there for that aerial final battle. And it's always appreciated when Bandai shows you an unpainted version on the side. You'll notice that the sword is out there with the beam effect parts in there. He's throwing it and he has the pink beam sticking out there. The base is included. You're going to get the two small pilots in addition to the one in the cockpit, those figures, the beam shield, the palm Fiocona, and you're going to get the throwing parts, the extra beams, and 3 extra manipulators. So you are going to get a lot of content in this 7,000 yen package. For the manuals, I've borrowed just the regular Destiny Gundam here for comparison's purpose, and here's the Extreme Blast mode with that same cover art, and I have to say I really like this one more than Strike Freedom. How about you? But if you have them all in your book, you may want to have this one in there just to match all of the others in terms of consistency. When you crack it open, you're going to get some story on the Destiny Gundam, a list of fictional parts for this, some instructions, and the table of contents on how to put everything together. But when you get into the plates, the A plate is going to have some pink parts on there, which is always a little bit interesting, and some yellow. Good color variation, but when you move on, it's pretty much similar to the regular one until you get up to here. The N you'll notice is the massive base, again in the shape of the wings, and then you're going to get the O parts, which have a bunch of clear effect parts, the P parts, which are going to give you the figures and the bases that they stand on. You don't use all the polycaps, keep an eye out for the X's, and you're going to get these massive wings. The beam shield comes with both. For a lot of Gundams, they're going to charge you 40 or 60 yen if you're missing a part, and you can order from Bandai, and again, I apologize, but this is for Japanese use only, unless you find a place that'll do it for you online. But something with this, it's always interesting looking at special versions just to see. So the O and the P parts, they are going to be charging you 800 yen for those, and if you want things like the beam shield, it's $1. The wings, 1,500 yen. So basically what they're saying is don't buy the regular one and then just pick and choose the extra parts you want. You may as well just shell out the 7,000 because when you buy these parts individually, that's going to add up real quick. The rest of the manual is what I like to call pretty much new standard. It shows the part, shows the plates you need, and then everything you need to put that together with no difficulty for anybody who's built a Gundam before this. Wings and some very nice line art, but inside your color splash page is going to be different from the regular one, which shows off a painting guide, shows the Akatsuki, you've got the Strike Freedom, you've got the Destiny swinging in with its wings. Again, they reenact that, and if you're a good painter, why not turn those figures into recreations of Kira and Shin? Rounding out the rest of the book, you're going to have some stuff about the display stand and how to put everything on and mount it. Looks like it has a very good mount mechanism because it's actually going to go up into the backpack and hold it on instead of having to go into the crotch area. And then it's going to show you how to put on the effect parts, and you can actually put this into the palm, put in that extending piece, and how to clip on the wings. The wings come with a few small pieces, so be careful that you don't lose those. And then they show you how to put together the figures, not difficult, the decals, and then you're going to have a painting guide and a nice shot of the Destiny to wrap things up on the back. To wrap up my impressions at the beginning, I have to say of this Destiny Gundam, especially the Extreme Blast mode, the one I'm reviewing here, are incredibly positive. And to go back to 2006, I remember I bought the regular Strike Freedom. I didn't shell out the extra money for the special 7,000 yen version. And afterwards I found that the special edition one sold out, went collectible, and all of a sudden you were paying more than retail, which hardly ever happens with Gundam. So I didn't want that to happen, so I went straight to the Extreme Blast mode for the Destiny Gundam, and as you can see, it's already completed here. But from first impressions, just looking around at all the bonuses, the fact that you're going to get 1,000,000 extra effect parts, chrome parts, wings, and these extra figures, everything about it seems positive, but it's all about how they actually work together. So stay tuned for the next parts where you'll see the parts, the MS, and the final verdict, and so you can know whether you want to get this Gundam, the regular one, or just skip on it altogether. Anyway, everybody, as always, thanks for watching. Robert184, Gundam.tk, thanks for being here. See you with lots more. Bye. You know, now that I look at it, am I actually one of the only people who killed a lead Gundam? There's not a chance you would have got away with killing Freedom if they didn't intend to sell 1,000,000 Strike Freedoms after.